All right, well, it is 1:10, so we're going to be prompt with our time because we have 3 platforms that we're going to try to power through. So we're going to go ahead and get started so that we can utilize our whole 55 minutes because it is extremely hard to get through 3 platforms in 55 minutes. But today we're going to be talking about defined careers, defined learning, and Elevate Tennessee. So we're going to be talking about lifting students from the classroom to the workforce. My name is Kristin McQueen. I'm the STEM Relationship Manager with the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network, and I am joined today by 2 other representatives from Defined Learning, and I will let them introduce themselves when it's their time to go. But I first wanted to talk a little bit about our partnership with Defined Learning and our partnership with the Tennessee Department of Ed. So through the Tennessee Department of Ed, we're able to offer these 3 platforms free of charge for middle and high school, and they all range a little bit different in grade level, but they all have a little something different to offer. So Defined Learning we offer for free for 5th through 8th grade. Defined Careers we offer for free for 6th through 12th grade. And Elevate Tennessee is available for 8th through 12th grade. Now, if you're sitting here and you're in elementary, don't panic. You don't have to get up and leave. There are ways that you can incorporate some of these platforms, which we'll be sure to touch on as well, so that you are able to implement and use those as well. So today we're going to talk both about defined learning and defined careers, and then we're going to talk about Elevate Tennessee. You'll get a high-level overview of all 3 of these platforms, kind of run through what the home pages look like, talk about how you can use it in your classroom, how you could implement it with your students, and exactly what that looks like, and how you can sign up for all 3 of these, because, I mean, really that's the most important piece. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Cindy Moss.
All right, I'm Dr. Cindy Moss. I'm the VP of Innovation for Defined, and at the end we'll give you our emails. And Aimee, if you'd wave as she walked back there, this is Aimee Tait, my compatriot. She lives here in Nashville, and if you have any questions about Defined in Tennessee, Aimee is the person who can help you, and she's pretty phenomenal. So what we want to do is give you a little information about this. If you've never done project-based learning, I was a high school science teacher for 20 years, and then 10 years I was in charge of STEM in Charlotte for our 145,000 kids, 13,000 teachers. The best way to do STEM is project-based learning. And the reason that project-based learning is important is it's student-centered. Your students have choices, so the problems they're solving and what they're doing is relevant to their lives. They have meaningful learning opportunities, so they learn the standards that you have to get them to learn according to the state of Tennessee. They learn them quickly because they matter to them. You can personalize it. You can scale it across districts. We took it across 189 buildings, and your student outcomes will improve. There's lots of research out there that shows when kids care, they do better. Duh, we all know that. So defined learning, you guys are so lucky. You were the first state in the country where someone in your state, and you guys have TSIN, they're an amazing group, decided this was important, and they funded this for you guys. And it's cross-curricular. Every one of our PBLs are at least interdisciplinary. Some of them have not just literacy and math or literacy and science. They may have social studies, the arts, lots of things are built in. And they have real-world problems that work on your students' essential skills of communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. And defined learning is teacher-led. So you as the teacher, you have standards you need to cover. You can search by the standard and find a project that works. All of the projects involve a kid solving a real-world problem from the context of a career. So even in kindergarten, your kids can be learning about the careers that they could possibly go into. They have a portfolio, so all the things they're doing is there. And if your school is trying to get STEM designated by the state of Tennessee, you'll have that student portfolio. And if you partner with us to do professional learning, you'll have a teacher portfolio. So you'll have all the evidence you need of the work that you're doing. There's PD on here for every teacher in your school that comes as part of the resource. And then there's we can put together a system for you of professional learning. This is kind of what it looks like. There's almost 400 of these projects, K-12. And so if you're teaching 5th grade and you have some kids who read at 2nd grade, you can find things appropriate for them. If you have some other kids in there reading at 8th or 9th grade, you can also find that. So you can search by standards, you can search by grade level, you can search by projects. We follow the understanding by design framework. We've worked with Jay McTighe. He's helped to make sure that we do this appropriately. So the gold standard PBL. And no matter whether it's kindergarten or 12th grade, it looks like this. It's all customizable. So if you have a particular company in your community you're working with, you can customize it to make it fit that. But it starts with an introduction, and we go through a real world video of someone who does this career, who talks about how they use reading and math and science in their career. There's big ideas, questions. We follow the GRASP model, and the kids make a product. If you've never heard of the GRASP model, that's from Understanding by Design. There's a goal, role, audience, situation, and your performance or your project, and everything you need is here. It gives them the big idea, the essential questions. This is the teacher portal, and so for students, you can turn things on or off. There's 4 to 7 projects, and most teachers don't do all of them. They may have one that everybody does together, and then they may give the English language learners a different one than your gifted and talented, or it may just be you have some boys interested in a particular type of project. This particular one would be on math, and so sometimes you're looking for something that focuses on a type of content. What we're trying to do in our 5th through 8th grade project or partnership with TSIN is we're looking at your students and trying to create this pathway for them to be future ready and successful. We don't really know what the jobs will be like for these kids, but we want them, no matter whether they live in a rural part of Tennessee or they live in the middle of Nashville, to have these skills, because no matter what they think they want to do right now, they will need these skills that apply to jobs of the future. And so before we go on to Define Careers, our second resource, Kristin wanted to talk a little bit about summer.
Yeah, so if you're teaching summer school, then you can use Define Learning. So through our partnership with the Department of Ed and our partnership with Define Learning, we are able to offer Define Learning for the summer stream camps. So if you're teaching summer school, all of that information is on our website, tsin.org, and it actually has its own tab, to 2022 Summer Stream Camp on our website, and that's going to give you all the information. So this is available K-8 for Summer Stream Camp. So if you are a kindergarten through 8th grade teacher, we have actually put together 7 performance tasks. So we've handpicked 7 performance tasks because typically summer school is 6 weeks long. So we've given you a little bit of leeway of projects that you can pick from. But we've also put together a PBL for every single one of those performance tasks. So all you have to do is pick the performance task that you want to do during that week of summer stream and pull the PBL, and you're good to go. So that PBL lists your career connection, it lists potential community partners, it lists the materials that you need. We tried to make it where you could literally print and go. So definitely check those out. K through 8 available for summer stream camp. The website information has all of the information you need to figure out how to sign up or get an account for Define Learning for that summer stream portion. So before we switch to Defined Careers, I just wanted to point that out. Does anybody have any questions about Define Learning before we pivot to Define Careers? Perfect.
Okay, how many people in here will be working with Summer School K-8? Okay, so please, if you haven't seen it, go check this out. It really is an amazing resource. And in Charlotte, I spent a lot of time training my teachers on Understanding by Design. We brought in Grant Wiggins. And it's really difficult to write these. You don't need to write them. We have everything on there for you. The hardest part for my teachers was writing the rubrics. The rubrics are there for each one of the projects. And there's also anchor papers that tell you what does it look like if a 3rd grader gets a 4 on this or a 3 on this. So everything you need is right there. And if you have questions, you can go to the website that Kristin talked about, and you'll have Aimee's email at the end because we want to help you. So that's Defined Learning, 5th through 8th grade, focused on the standards, led by a teacher. Another product that we have is called Define Careers. And again, you guys are really lucky. You have this paid for you for 6th through 12th grade students. Define Careers is a comprehensive career experience system, but it's student-led. Okay, so the students are going to determine where they go. So this is different. Teachers can use it in their class, but it's really designed to be student-led. Again, it follows the GRASP model, and if you haven't ever heard of that, you don't really have to understand why all these things are important, but if you have questions, we're happy to help you with it. Goal, role, audience, situation, and product. That's what your students are going to do as they learn about careers. Career readiness is really important. I know in the state of Tennessee, that's why the businesses have come together to support TSIN, to support you guys, because for the good of the community, the good of your state, the good of our country, you want your students to have the skills they need to get a job. And if you have kids of your own, you want them to be able to take care of themselves so you don't have to support them the rest of their lives. If you go to act.org/career pathway report, there's all kinds of information in there about what you need to do to make sure your students are career ready. You need to have some kind of test that gives them information. You need to have benchmarks. You need to help kids understand that it's not just about college. And one of the things you'll see, whether you're using Define Learning or Define Careers, is many of these careers require 2 years or less of college. Some of them require a 6-week training program. We try to give kids the opportunity to see there's lots of options out there, lots of really good jobs that don't require 4 years of college. They also say, according to this ACT report, that your students need work-based learning experiences. And Kristin's going to talk to you about Elevate Tennessee. You have a lot of that already happening here. And we need to help teachers and students understand the right kind of behaviors that get them ready for jobs. In our 6th through 12th grade Define Careers, what students do is they have to figure out what do they want to do. And you know how you'll talk to a kid and you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's really a terrible question. And what we want you to ask them is, what kind of problems do you want to solve? And using Define Learning and Define Careers, we want to help them create a portfolio that has evidence of the kind of problem solver they are. Because jobs are changing and on a really quick basis. So we have a pathway matching assessment. I know you guys have another kind of assessment, an aptitude test, and it can be really long. Ours is very practical and can be done many times. But if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. You can start at another level. We want career exposure. There's so many jobs out there that I bet you as educators don't know about, and our students don't know about it, guidance counselors don't know, principals don't know, parents don't know. We want them to explore. Just because they see somebody on TV doing something, they think it's cool. We want them to have the opportunity to see if it's really what they think they want to do. And we want to give them a real career experience, and so they're going to create products that they would create if they were doing that job. So this is our assessment. Our assessment looks at academic study preferences. They ask kids questions, and they rank the fields they're interested in pursuing. And again, this is for 6th through 12th grade, so their minds are going to change. They can do this as many times as they want. They look at an interest inventory. Are they more interested in things that are artistic, realistic, social? They get to answer all those kinds of questions. And we look at their values inventory. What kind of life do they want to have? Even 12-year-olds are starting to think about that. You know, they want to be able to play soccer on the weekends. They want to be able to do other kinds of things. They already know that. And so when they take our Define Careers assessment, it looks at academic study preferences, an interest inventory, a values inventory, and it triangulates and gives them places to start. It doesn't mean they can't look at other careers. There's almost 500 careers in here, but it has to give them a place to start. So it triangulates it, and sometimes guidance counselors can weigh in on it as well, but they don't have to. The kid can just go from what's recommended. We want every kid out there to be able to get a job and support themselves. We don't want to be supporting them, and so we have built this in so that everything can be individualized. There's accommodations. It's text-to-speech. If you have kids who struggle with reading, you can do that. They can highlight, they can focus on lines. There's Google Translate. The Spanish version was done by real Spanish speakers. So my friends who are bilingual principals and are bilingual themselves, they're happy with our Spanish because it's real Spanish. But we have Google Translate for other languages. There's dictionaries. You can change the font if you have a kid who struggles to see. There's closed captioning. And we now have 79 new foundational tasks. This was originally 6-12. It's actually going to be K-12 for us as a company. And so the foundational tasks are for kids who read at a lower level. And you may have that with your English language learners or some other kids. And there's also a foundational assessment if they need a different kind of vocabulary. We have 16 career clusters, 79 career pathways, and it says 320. We've been adding to it. We're now at nearly 500 careers. So lots of opportunities for your students. Under the career clusters, if let's say you were looking at agriculture, food, and natural resources, we were talking to some friends back there from a rural school system, then maybe they want to look at the pathway of agribusiness systems, and then maybe they want to look at the career of being a farm or ranch manager. So that's kind of how it will play itself as you go along. And when you get to the career, they're actually going to do a task that somebody in that career would do. This career focus, they're going to go through the clusters so they at least understand what this is. I like to use this phrase from Marian Wright Edelman, the lady who started the Children's Defense Fund: you can't be what you can't see. We want to show kids that people who look like them, who live where they live, can get these skills, get a good job, and make the world a better place. And they can stay in their rural community if they love that. They can stay in their urban community if they love that. So going through these project-based learnings, hopefully it will help a kid understand, do they really want to do this? Or it may help them mark it off their list. And that's just as important as figuring out what they do want to do. And within each course, there are 5 lessons. The first lesson is a career cluster video, maybe lasts 12 to 15 minutes. The second lesson is a career pathway video. So they're seeing the cluster, they're going to the next level of a pathway. The one that takes the most amount of time is where they create a product. In defined careers, there's 2 products per course, and so they have a choice of 2, or you as a teacher could tell them which one to do, but there's just 2. And they go through it. Again, all the resources they need are there. There's readings, there's extra videos. If they have to create something digitally, there'll be links to go to that. Sometimes they need some products to build a prototype, but it would be like dollar store products that they need to build things. So you're not having to buy other software. You're not having to buy kits of materials to do this. And then they do a review. One of the things I love about this is after they've done a career, they actually complete an Excel spreadsheet to figure out a personal budget. And we know kids need some help with financial literacy. They go through and figure out how many jobs in this particular, what's the number of jobs like this within 100 miles of where they live based on the zip code of their laptop. And then they figure out what would the average salary be. They have to figure out what would it cost to live, what would rent be, do you have to have a car. So they actually go through and figure out a lot of information that they need. So it's really good for their life skills. Counselors and teachers like this because they will have a portfolio. They'll be able to see which careers has this student studied. And we see kids in certain places taking that portfolio and taking it with them to a job interview or to an interview to get into a technical program, a community college, a 4-year college. It's good for parents and guidance counselors and teachers. They can have conversations with kids, ask them real questions, and it helps our students understand what's possible and maybe see some possibilities they never considered before. Where does it fit in? There's lots of ways that people are using it. LUDA is a large unit district association in Illinois. There's some larger school districts out there, and they're doing different things. They surveyed the superintendents that belong to their group. 50% of it were using it with the counselors were using it with all of their students. In Tennessee, some of the people we know in middle school, if they have an advisory where the kids have to be with like a homeroom teacher or they just have this time every day, they're using it in advisory because every kid in the class could be pursuing a different kind of career, and the teacher can grade it within the program. It's pretty simple for them. In LUDA, 61% of their schools were using it in CTE courses. Many of you may have those introductory CTE courses in middle school or high school, so this is a really good way to go. If I were still teaching high school biology like I did, I would pick several of these that are related to the biological sciences and have my students do maybe one a semester, so at least within the traditional required content, they were seeing where the job skills were and how they fit into them. 28% of theirs are using them in homeroom. 44% are using them in college and career readiness courses. If you guys have some of those, that would work there. 0% said they didn't see it fitting into their school district. So it's the same thing that they're doing in Illinois we see happening in places in Tennessee. The biggest issue we see is that your teachers, your guidance counselors, your CTE department may not even know that they have it. So that's a big part of why we're here today. If you just think back over what's offered here. And remember, you're not having to pay for this. Somebody already paid for this for you. This is a multidimensional assessment. And you think about your kids. If you're teaching middle school, I would have my 6th graders do this every quarter because you know how often they change. They grow a lot. They change a lot. So what they like to do changes. And remember, we're looking at study preferences, an interest inventory, and a values inventory. And what we find is for most jobs, it's not so much about aptitude. It's about their attitude, and it's about what they think they really want to do. After they do that inventory, they get 2 career pathways based on their assessment, and each one of them has 4 to 5 career courses. So they have choices there, and if there's some career they've always thought they wanted to do, they can choose and skip to that. So they're not limited by any of these choices. But this portfolio that they have is really helpful when they get ready to apply to a job, or they're applying to go to a high school if they're coming from middle school, or they're applying to a college. They will have all of that at their fingertips. All right, so any questions about defined careers before I hand it back to Kristin for Elevate Tennessee? Mm-hmm. The portfolio has the PBLs that they've completed, so it will be pictures or examples of the products that they've created. It would have feedback from their teacher, and the portfolio you can add, if you have a portrait of a graduate, you can add that. They can do self-assessments. The teacher can do assessments. If you have in-person internships, you can add all of that, so you could add a resume. So it really just becomes a portfolio that has all of their skills related to jobs. Good question. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so they have been renewed for the 2022-2023 school year.
Any other questions? Okay, how many of you now, if you haven't looked at it, want to go look at Defined Careers? Hopefully everybody in here will do that.
Yeah, so through our partnerships with Define Learning, the Tennessee Department of Education, Elevate, WorkBay, we really have been able to put together the trifecta jackpot. Because really what we want you to do, we want you to start with your kids in middle school with Define Learning. That gets them hooked in, it gets them intrigued by a different career, it gets them exposed to a different career, and then as they move on, you can start incorporating defined careers where they actually get to take on that role. They get to start with that career cluster and then learn about the pathway, and then they actually get to create a product. And then as they develop in their interest and mature in what they want to do, you can move them into Elevate Tennessee. So we're going to switch over and talk about Elevate Tennessee, which this platform is available 8th through 12th. But we'll also talk about some ways that some elementary folks might be able to fit it into their classroom as well. So in 2019, Governor Bill Lee launched the Future Workforce Initiative. And really that initiative called out a strict focus on career and technical education in K-12 schools. So this really helped us kind of be the driving force of what we wanted Elevate Tennessee to be able to look like. So with that, we kind of reviewed the current landscape that we had, and we saw that there really was a gap in the curricula to be able to provide these relevant practical workplace skills, and it resulted in a gap. And COVID has only increased that gap. And so we said, okay, we need to be able to expose higher education, secondary, post-secondary opportunities, and pathways, which is kind of what led us to Elevate Tennessee. So with Elevate Tennessee, students can earn industry-recognized badges, which we'll talk about. They can search and apply for local jobs and internships, and it's for grades 8 through 12. So let's talk about a little bit about the highlights of what students can do while they're on Elevate. So there is an interest assessment. So by the time they've gone through Defined Learning, by the time they've gone through Defined Careers, by the time they get to 8th grade, and as they travel on, hopefully they do have a little bit more of an idea of what they want to do. But again, this assessment can also be taken as many times as they like. It also has a ready-to-use resume, so students can click on My Resume, they can quickly fill in different pieces of it, and every time that they take a course and they earn that badge, that industry-recognized badge, it automatically shows up on their resume as well. So all they have to do is go in and fill in a little bit about me on their resume, and everything else kind of pre-fills as they move forward. It helps them get connected to local career exploration. You know, that's one of the things that we hear a lot of. You know, how can we get our students connected to local industry? Well, Elevate allows us to do that, because what happens is employers are able to fill out a portfolio or a profile on Elevate Tennessee as well. And so students are able to search by zip code, and it will pull up all of the local industry in their area. And once an employer fills out a profile, the employer can fill out a form called a volunteerism form. So with that, they can say, yes, we'll volunteer in a classroom. Yes, we'll host internships and externships. Yes, we'll be a judge. Yes, we'll come present or talk to your kids. And so students and teachers can see that. So it really does help connect teachers and students to that local career piece within your community and within your area. So it also provides post-secondary pathway awareness, which we'll talk about as we move into a little bit about what the platform looks like, because you'll see exactly where students are actually exposed to post-secondary opportunities within their zip code or within 100 miles of their zip code. For educators, so you get that direct connection to local industries like we just talked about. You can also search by zip code and it will pull up local industry within your area. You can assign learning modules. So Elevate Tennessee is made up of different learning modules, and we've actually taken it a step further and gone ahead and pulled out 5 big modules that are on Elevate Tennessee, such as cybersecurity, consumer math. And we've actually gone ahead and pulled out those practices and aligned them for you. So that was just one step that you didn't have to do in those standards to the science, math, and ELO practices. So those are a crosswalk document, and that lives on our website, TSIN.org. And again, Elevate Tennessee has its own tab on our website, and those crosswalks are at the bottom. So those are already matched for you. It also helps you have sustainable partnerships within your local area. So Elevate Tennessee is made up of about 4 or 5 different components, big components. The first one is going to be watch videos, and that's what it's listed as on the side. And students, teachers, and this is kind of where elementary can come in too, because the watch videos are 2 to 3 minute interviews of people in the workforce doing those different jobs. So it really helps students to see, like, this is a viable option. I've seen somebody doing this job, and it takes them through a day in the life of that role. And there are a lot of Tennessee jobs on there as well. We've been working really hard to go out and film different industries in the regions of Middle, West, and East, trying to get representatives all over the state so that our students can see that there are all kinds of different jobs that they could take here in Tennessee. So the watch videos are about 2 to 3 minutes long, giving them a high-level overview of a day in the life in that role. And it kind of works like Instagram. Students, teachers can heart that, and it also shows up under their my careers. Next, you have Explore Learning. So Explore Learning is where all of your modules are going to live. And this is just a screenshot of the Cyber Smart module. It actually ends up with about 12 different modules. So all modules are set up the same way. Most modules take about 2 hours for students to be able to go through start to finish. They go through a watch it, learn it, show it, a what if, and then a reflection. So a what if, it gives them a problem or situation that they could experience while they're learning about this career. And then show it is a video of a person doing that job. And then they have a reflection. They also have a little survey at the end asking them if they were actually interested in this career. It will then populate videos and career card videos for them to be able to watch, to be able to learn more about those careers. So Explore Careers is my favorite page because it just goes into so much detail for our students. So students could honestly search any career that they could ever think of. And what it will do is it will bring up a huge, long page of all this wonderful information. So this is just a screenshot of the top, but I'm going to talk about everything that you can't see. So this is for a light truck or delivery service driver. And so it starts out by telling the student the average salary that they could make if they were to go into this career. It also gives them the career cluster and the career pathway, and it gives them a little bit of an overview. But as the student rolls down through that page, it's going to give them the soft and hard skills that they would need to be able to pursue this job. It's also going to give them a list of personality traits as well. So once they go through that list and see those, the next thing that it's going to do is it's going to populate the courses on Elevate Tennessee that align to this career. So it's going to say, okay, if you're interested in being a truck driver, these are the courses in Elevate that you should take that will earn you a badge and end up on your resume. after they see the courses that they should take, the next thing that it's going to do is it's going to show them the jobs that are available within their zip code or within their area. And you can set the radius to however far or close, that you would like. And then 16 and over can apply for jobs or internships. So it's going to tell them exactly how many jobs are open. They can directly click on the post to the job posting, and then they can directly apply off of the website, which will automatically pull their resume for them. And employers are able to log into Elevate, being able to see who's applied for a job, and they can also pull the student's resume as well. So direct connection to that local community with being able to apply for a job directly off of the platform. So after the student goes through or looks at the jobs, the last thing that it's going to do is it's going to populate different universities, community colleges, or certificate areas where they could go within however the radius that they want to be set. But if they don't do anything, it's automatically going to populate to their zip code. It's going to tell them all the post-secondary pathways that they could take to get to that career. So if they're in Nashville, it's going to populate different areas in Nashville for them to go to, TCAD or MTSU, or it's going to populate all the different career pathways that they could take to be able to get there. So again, Exploring Careers is my favorite page because of all the detail that it goes into. It gives the student that salary, it starts them out, tells them the pathway, it tells them the hard and soft skills they need, it tells them the type of personality. It shows them, hey, there's a job open right now and you qualify, you're 16 over, you could apply. You already have a resume ready. Okay, I'm really interested in this. Here are the courses I should take. And then here are my post-secondary pathways to take. So this page really is a one-stop shop when it comes to a kid who really, really, really is ready to move into that workplace phase. So explore jobs. Again, you can type in any zip code. This pulls from that USSA jobs, and it refreshes every 5 minutes. So you could put in any zip code that you would like. Students 16 and over can apply for jobs or internships that are listed on the website. Just make sure that you do monitor that. We have run into a lot of businesses do require 18 and over. And I know that if you're in high school that you've experienced that as well. So just make sure, we're trying to make sure that our employers, if they do post jobs, that they do know that students are able 16 and over to apply. So just make sure that your student monitors that as well. So the next thing that Elevate Tennessee is able to do is you could host a virtual career fair, which this came in really nice and handy when we launched this site for the first time in the middle of the pandemic, because we were able to host a couple of different virtual career fairs. Now that we're back in session and you're back hosting in-person career fairs, I'm still going to pitch it to you because it still is a viable option for you to be able to use. Because when you go out and you get these industry partners or these community partners that you have in your community, there are going to be some that say, hey, I can't come. I don't have 3 hours to give you to do a career fair. I can't take the time off, blah, blah, blah. So you could have a virtual career fair with your in-person career fair, and it could just be a session or booth that your students visit as well. And you have the ability to customize it. So if you have 3 employers that can't come to your in-person session, but you want to host them virtually, then you can have that be a part of your actual career fair. So we actually had a career fair in Etheridge and a career fair in Jackson, and both of them ran completely different. Etheridge, we ran all in the same room, so speakers just came in back to back to back to back, and they had about 8 speakers, and students were able to, for the student view, it kind of runs like a YouTube Live. And then for the speakers or the employer, it runs like a Zoom. So the students are able to kind of sit and listen and watch. They can interact with the chat feature. And with JASA, it ran totally different. So again, customizable, which is a really great piece. JASA actually decided to break out each session because they had about 15 speakers lined up. So they separated it out by track. So they said, students, if you're interested in nursing, you're going to go to this room and listen to these 3 speakers. If you're interested in manufacturing, you're going to go to this room and listen to these 3 speakers. And then they had a couple of different tracks that was blanket career exploration. So if you have a student that's like, I don't know what I'm interested in, there was a track for them too. So we're able to set it up with multiple different tracks. We're able to set it up with just 1 or 2 people, but it is a really nice opportunity to kind of blend in that in-person and that virtual option, still being able to allow you to connect with those employers who maybe can't come in person with you anymore. So this is kind of a picture of the homepage. The best thing about the virtual career fairs that I just talked about as well is they automatically record. So if you have students who chose not to visit the virtual booth, they can still log into Elevate Tennessee and watch that session and listen to that presenter or that local industry piece at any time. And those will automatically kind of pop up on your home screen as you come. Anything that gets newly added to Elevate Tennessee is always going to be at the top when they log in. It's going to say latest video, because we're all the time trying to add videos. We're all the time trying to add new modules. In fact, we're working on a new module right now. One of the modules that we're working to build right now is a water treatment course. You know, we're about to have a huge gap in the water industry because baby boomers, everybody's about to retire, and we don't have anybody lined up to take these jobs. So we're working with Pellissippi State, we're working with Oak Ridge Utility, we're working with the Tennessee Utilities to really create this module to get students interested in this field and get these a skilled pipeline ready to go. So we do see Elevate Tennessee a lot with school counselors. So I just wanted to point out a couple of different ways that you could use it if you are a school counselor. Once you're a school counselor, you might meet with your students one-on-one. You can go over that career assessment results with the students and kind of help guide them in the different modules or the different careers that they might be interested in. You can go over the different careers, pathway, the cluster, the salary. So that career video page where I talked about how it lists all of that information, it would be such a good opportunity as a school counselor to sit down with that student one-on-one and say, if this is what you're really interested in, let's look at all of the different things that you would need to be able to be successful in this. Let's look at the career or the skills. Let's look at the personality trait. Let's look at other courses. It also, you can help them choose the courses. And then whole group, you could help get students signed up for this. You could help students understand how the platform works. You could basically be a me in your school and help walk them through how to get going. You can also help them figure out how to get to their My Resume. Again, a lot of it is pre-filled as once they start going through those courses and the badges get added on there. But it is just a really nice opportunity for you to help them fill out that About Me and show them how to get through that. You can also plan a virtual career fair if you're a school counselor. You could plan a virtual career fair for a specific grade level, or you could plan a virtual career fair for your whole school. Or you could plan a virtual career fair for just a single class. That's kind of up to you. However, like I said, the best thing about all 3 of these platforms really is it's customizable to you. You know, you're going to be the one working with these platforms, and there really is a lot of different items on all 3 platforms that have the ability to be customized and tweaked to fit the need of your students and your kids in your classroom. Also wanted to point out the CTE. There could be a lot of CTE in here as well, but the Tennessee career clusters are organized into those 16 broad categories, and there is a course on Elevate Tennessee that's going to hit all 16 of them. So you're going to be able to find a specific course that hits that career cluster and that career pathway for CTE. So there is an opportunity for general ed teachers, there's an opportunity for school counselors, there's an opportunity for CTE to be able to implement Elevate Tennessee with your students and get that exposure. So I pulled together a couple of quotes of people who have actively been using Elevate Tennessee, just so you could kind of see what students are saying, what industry is saying, what school districts are saying, what teachers are saying. And students learn to watch the videos. I told you that was one of my favorite parts, just because of everything that you can see about that career. So I'll just give you a second just to peek inside of those. I sat in on a couple of different virtual career fairs, and I listened to 4. And one of the things that employers said was a must was that people just need to show up on time to work. And I thought that was crazy. I thought, people aren't showing up on time for work. Okay. Every single presenter or every single industry partner, when asked, what advice would you give a student as they think about, moving into the industry? Show up to work. And a lot of them said, we don't care if you don't know how to do the trade or the skill. If you can show up on time to work and be present, we can train you. We can get you the skills and the staff and the PD or whatever that you need to get you up to speed. We just need you to show up to work. And I thought it was funny because when I asked the student what he learned, he was like, well, I heard 5 times that I need to show up. And I thought, okay, well, take it and leave it. So let's talk about how to sign up. There are 2 different ways, so I just want to be sure that I am clear on these. So if you want to be able to track your students' progress. So since this is a platform that is kind of student-led, even though teachers and school counselors and anyone can pull up videos and talk about different careers, even though the student kind of is the driver on this platform, if you want to be able to track what careers your students are interested in, what modules they've been taking, if you want to be able to assign different modules, then you need to sign up as a teacher/counselor. Because the only way that we can get the student in and connected to you is through a code. So you need to sign up first as the teacher or the counselor. An intake form is going to pop up. Fill that intake form out, and it's going to send you an email with a class code in it. So after you've signed up and you've gotten that class code, then your students can sign up. And students will kind of see the same thing. They'll hit register now. They'll hit users under 18. I mean, very rarely are you going to have a high schooler, well, I don't know, you could. If they're 18 and over, then they can hit 18 and over. But user under 18, they'll have an intake form that pops up. At the very bottom, the registration code that you received in your email is the registration code the student would put in. And then that student and you are linked. So you're going to be able to see what videos they've hearted. You're going to be able to see their resume, any courses that they take. And then once you start filling in with a lot of your students, you can go in and separate out your classes. So you can put them in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, so you can separate out your classes from there. But in order to be able to do that, they do have to have that code. Now, if you do not want that, you can sign up as an individual, and you don't have to have that code to be able to use it. Questions on that? Yes, but that might have to be something that we handle on our end, just to be able to kind of merge you in there. So if that's the case, definitely take down my contact info at the end, and we can help get those merged.
So I just tried to sign up as a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and I got my little email, but there's no code, and when I go, I'm looking at the student version, not the teacher version.
Not the teacher version. Okay.
Even though I clicked on I'm a teacher.
Okay.
So
Just take my contact information down at the end. Because the teacher version does give you an extra, he said I couldn't go back. But on the left-hand side where it's like my resume, everything that you can do, the teacher one has that reports dashboard. So we can definitely get that tracked and added. No, not a big deal. So I just wanted to reiterate all of the 3 platforms. I know that this is a lot of information in 55 minutes to be able to take and cope with and think about. But through our partnership with the Tennessee Department of Education, we're able to offer these 3 platforms. And like I said, it really is a jackpot of being able to get your students excited about careers, learning about careers, interested about careers, exploring them, and really taking them to that next level of being able to apply for jobs and look at post-secondary opportunities. It really is this full circle of being able to take them all the way through and being able to give them that local partnership connection, being able to connect to partner to local industries through that volunteerism forum and through these virtual career fairs. It's just a really nice opportunity to be able to take the student from being interested to applying that aspect. And again, I wanted to remind you that Define Learning, we do have that summer stream camp available, K-8. So again, be sure to check out our website for that. Like I said, it has its own tab on TSIN.org, and that is available for K-8 for those summer stream camps. There are 7 tasks there. There's a toolbox there. Everything you could possibly need is listed on there. Do we have any questions? Yes, sir.
I coordinate our school council for our district. They've all, our middle middle school have been using it lately, and Thames Ferry and Franklin. My question is, I'd like to be able to monitor from a district standpoint. Is there a district access where we can get data on how our schools, what we're getting from those schools, seeing what they're, what they're high, what most kids are choosing, this and that, or seeing what, the pathway they're choosing?
Yes, there is. It's a unique way that we have to go about doing it. I wish I could say that there's a blanket yes to that. But again, the best thing about these platforms is it's customizable. So if you want something like that, then we can work on our end to work and try to get that data for you. Yeah. My contact's going to be at the very end. Take a picture of it, and we will get on it. Yes. Yes, so industry certification. So what this means, it's an industry recognized, let me correct myself, it's an industry recognized badge. So basically what this means is if they've printed out this resume and they get it to an employer, it just tells the employer that they've had some training on this specific skill. So it lets the employer know, like, hey, I have been exposed to a little bit of this stuff, but I may need further training. Or I may need further support in this. It's recognized.
Does a badge on personal finance, would that take the place of the class of personal finance? Like, that's a standard a course that a high school student has to have. I just wonder if that's...
That would just be supplemental. It's not going to replace the actual standard or the requirement, but it does look good on the resume. Yes. Okay.
So if a student creates an account in 6th grade and 7th grade, is it the same account, but that's tied to that teacher and they change teachers? Or the student has several different accounts for each year or just one account?
No, the student would just have one account all the way through. The only way that we'll be able to connect them to those different teachers is through those codes. So each teacher would get a different code, and we can manually add in codes once. So let's just say too that you sign up as an individual and the kids sign up as users under 18 and you didn't have a code, but now you want them connected. There is a way for us to tell you to be able to say, hey, now we can connect you, here's a code. So we can devise them, even after they've already created an account, we can get them a code and get them connected. Elevate Tennessee is available 8 through 12. Define Learning and Define Careers. Define Learning is 5th through 8, and Define Careers is 6th through 12, and both of those have been renewed for the 2022-2023 school year. Within those grade bands. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So on the career panel, the career fair.
Yes, the virtual career fairs.
Virtual career fair. Can you have more than one person? Like if you wanted to have a panel of people speaking all at the same time virtually?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So like I said, it kind of works like a YouTube Live. We could put them all up kind of like a Zoom too. The only thing that I do need to point out is that because doing the pilots, I realized that it was a little bit of a misconception and maybe I wasn't clear. But the industry partner and the students can't see each other. So when I say it works like a YouTube Live, like it for the student experience, it really is like a TV. So they can interact with the industry partner through chat, but they physically can't see each other. So I like to point that out. And, the good thing about that is, again, it lets you bring in industries that maybe can't come in person. But a lot of industries are saying, oh, I can't see kids. And I'm like, oh, they're there. So I do like to point out that industry and they can't see each other, but they can chat with each other. Well, here is all of our contact information. I know that was eager. Go ahead and snap away there. So my email address is on there. Aimee Tait is our Tennessee representative for Defined Learning. So any questions with Defined Learning, Defined Careers, definitely reach out to Aimee. And then Dr. Cindy Moss, her info is on there as well. And again, visit our website. Defined Learning, Defined Careers, Summer Stream, they all have their own tab on our website. So it goes into much greater detail than we did in 55 minutes.